Hi, welcome to Unlikely Courage with Alicia Johnson. Here is official video number 4 and my first question and answer. First thing, really quick, I'm going to announce again. This is the last time I'm going to announce again during live stream. But the A Reason to Stand, the A Reason to Stand conference this Saturday from 1 to 6 in Provo, Utah. Look at the link below. If you're interested in coming, of course, the more people you bring with you, the more the discount is, and you can save $10 off your entire package by putting in the word Provo, P-R-O-V-O, at checkout. It is going to sell out. We've got people that are coming. We've got a whole big list of them, but some of my favorites that I'm really excited about. We've got the Freckled Fox. We've got Dawn Armstrong from the Meet the Mormons movie. We've got, of course, Ashley Burke, who I've heard speak 3 times. She is absolutely phenomenal. She's working on her 3rd book. She's been on Dateline. She's been on Dr. Phil. She's just, if you haven't heard of her, look her up. A-S-H-L-E-E, Ashley Burke. She's amazing. And then Shani and I are going to be on the panel with a good friend of mine. Her name is Nina. She lost her baby 2 weeks before she was due. Her story is heartbreaking and her strength is absolutely amazing. Ashley Hess is going to be singing an original song. Another panel member is a first responder to 9/11. I'm really excited. This event is going to be absolutely amazing. So check the link below, come see us. Would love to see you there at the event. For my first question and answer, I got a couple questions. Misa, I am going to talk about high school. I know I keep saying that, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with early on. One of the questions was to talk about how my parents met and got married, and so I'm going to answer that one and a couple others and just kind of build the foundation more a little bit with my channel of, you know, more things that we're going to be talking in depth about. I am going to answer the question about how my parents met and got married. All right, so they met at college. Fun little story. Here are my parents. Here's my cute mom. She was a freshman when my parents met. I'm trying to, okay, there, you can see her a little bit better. So she had gotten a scholarship for being in the marching band, which, you know, those uniforms are super attractive and everything. That's actually what she was wearing when she first met Senior Burr Johnson from Washington, D.C. Yeah, my dad kind of looked like Elvis, very attractive guy, if I do say so myself. Is that weird to say your dad's good looking? I think he's good looking. Anyway, so this is where my mom's meeting my grandparents back in DC. She's such a kid. She's so cute. 5'8", super teeny, just the cutest thing. And then my dad, who just saw her, and it was love at first sight. So what happened was he grew up in DC, high-end family. They had a lot of connections with, well, my grandparents met during World War II. My grandma was in the Women's Army Corps, which is pretty incredible, and her boss was pretty high-ranking, and my grandpa was a major in the Air Force, and he was actually, he just had a really cool role, and they met over there. Not like war is a great thing at all, not saying that, but it was just kind of a really cool story. And so they moved back to Washington, D.C., got married, had 6 kids. My dad was the oldest. So he went to dancing school, he went to private schools, just had this very, very unique experience, very different than my mom's upbringing. And when he was 18, he went away to college, and he's also an amazing baseball player. I don't like baseball that much. I'm kind of bored. He'd probably be mad if you heard me say that. I like sports, I really do. But anyway, but he was scouted by the minors, so I definitely think it's really cool. But anyway, baseball has nothing to do with it. He was a really good baseball player, went to college. Got kicked out because he was one naughty kid. He got beat up by cops, he pulled a lot of pranks, he didn't study, he got in all sorts of trouble, drank like a fish, got kicked out of school, and ended up going back home to Washington, D.C. with his tail between his legs going, not knowing what to do. So he ended up turning his life around and started focusing more on his faith a little bit, and he joined the Navy. So, became a completely different person and ended up moving back to school, or moving out west to go to school. And several years later, he was a senior and he wanted to get married. He wanted to, move on with his life, but he definitely, getting married was right up there on his list. And so he had a little list of girls that he was going to ask out. And first BYU home football game, he actually got there last second, ended up sitting in the end zone. Well, he walks by the Cougar band where he sees this cute thing right here. And that's them on their wedding day. Really cute. That happened like 8 months after they met. My dad was he knew what he wants, so he went for it. But he saw my mom and asked her name, and then strangely bumped into her on campus a couple days later, or maybe it was the next day. Don't know how he knew her schedule, just the fact that he was involved in student council and knew people. Like, I'm not saying he stalked her, I'm not saying that. Anyway, it ended up turning out good. He just knew that he wanted to meet her, so he met her, and 8 months later they were married and moved to Washington, D.C., and 9 months after they got married, I came along. Fast forward 6 months, I was born in January, fast forward 6 months, and we moved to Hawaii, where he was stationed on a destroyer in Pearl Harbor. Following year, my brother was born. Following year? Yeah. My brother is 18 months younger than me. So my brother was born the following year, and in January, my aunt got married, and so we went back to Utah. The original plan was for my mom to go back to Hawaii. My dad was going to be out of the Navy that following November, and he was going to be done. He was ready, he had his experience in the Navy, and he was ready to go into business with my grandpa. I was going to be an East Coast girl, you know, slightly different than what I grew up as. But that was the plan. So a lot of you who are military families or things like that, you understand long deployments. January to November is kind of short in comparison. But as a lot of you who are watching this understand, the deployments are sometimes cut short when you become a Gold Star family. And that happened in March. My dad was killed in March of that year, and I grew up in Utah, and you know, we stayed in contact with his family, and the rest is things that you'll hear later on. I think that's a sufficient start. I've always loved hearing about my mom's love story, and you know, and learning as much as I possibly can about my dad and everything. So that's how my family got started. I will talk a little bit more moving forward just about just some advice coming from a child who doesn't remember her parent. I'm going to offer advice, again, my opinion. I'm not saying that it's something that everybody needs to do, but I will have a video on that down the road. Ways to help little kids and helping them remember and things like that, things that I feel are important. So anyway, that's how my parents met, got married. That's how I came to be. And then some other questions that we got from Miriam Robertson. She said, I also struggle with emotional eating. I'd love to hear how you gained control over your eating disorder and how you developed your love for running. So my eating disorder is one thing that I've been learning the more, I mean, it's been a very, very real thing for me ever since I was about 6 or 7, probably. It's been, I remember I was looking back through some old little, like, things that my mom kept from elementary school, and when I was about 8, I wrote about how I needed to go on a DIEITT, how I needed to go on a diet, and how I was fat and stuff like that. And for an 8-year-old, that's concerning. And so Shani and I are actually going to do a video together. We're going to do a collaborative video together talking about originations of our eating disorders and our situations. Mine, in high school, I did mess around with bulimia a little bit. I have been obsessed with staying thin my whole life. I got chubby. I was chubby by the time I hit, like, between the ages of about, I was starting to get a little bit chunky when I was 8, and it got really bad by the time I was 12 and 13. And then I did have my growth spurt, and I started to run. So let's get into that with the disclaimer that I haven't overcome my issues, but I'm getting there. And so part of the reason I'm doing this channel, one of my focuses is getting into cooking healthy and eating healthy and enjoying it, because quite frankly, I believe that exercise and healthy eating is, you know what, let's be honest, sitting around and watching TV and not worrying about like the work behind exercise, it sounds awesome. Like I'd love to eat donuts, are one of my favorite things in the world. But I also know that it's a privilege to be able to eat healthy, and running. My friend Natalie and I were on a run yesterday, and I wasn't always a runner. But we're talking about how it's really hard to explain to a non-runner why running is so great, because quite frankly, two of the most dreaded words in junior high are the fun run. It's not fun for a 12-year-old kid to have to run in the sun during PE. I don't know of anybody who actually enjoys that. I think it's an acquired taste, quite frankly. Anyway, but the things with my eating issues, I'm finding out are pretty common. Kind of a love-hate relationship. I'm working on getting to that healthy place where I can have junk food here and there and be able to enjoy it, but still be able to maintain the health that I want to maintain as I get older, to be able to continue to run. I mean, I'm very grateful for the chance that I have to be able to run, and just to be able to, instead of resent the fact that I'm exercising and eating, or you know, things like that, instead of looking at it as a bad thing, see it for what it really is, which is actually a privilege. It's something that's really good to do, and be able to have those brownies now and then, and be able to enjoy those treats, but be able to do it in moderation. I actually didn't experience my first runner's high until later. So what got me into running was, all right, so after I lost my weight, I had my growth spurt in high school. I decided to run just because it was a good way to stay in shape. My friends were on the track team. I decided to join the track team. It was a great experience for me, and I realized, I'm like, oh wait, I can actually do this. This isn't that bad, because I had people to talk to. And before you know it, I'd run a couple miles and I was good to go. So for several years, couple decades actually, I think, yeah, it's good 20 years of running like that. That's why I did it, and that's how I did it. I'd always get a friend, and if I couldn't find a friend to go running with, I'd go and suck it up and be on the treadmill and get through it, get done. So anyway, my first race was the Ragnar. And for any of you that don't know what Ragnar is, there's a link below. It's kind of, I call it the stupidest fun you'll ever have. It is a overnight 200-mile relay race, and it sounds like it is the stupidest fun you'll ever have, and I mean it. It's funny. You end up bonding with people like you wouldn't believe. And my friend at work talked me into it. I didn't have to pay for it. I'm like, I haven't done a race yet. I'll do Ragnar. Ragnar is kind of one of the hardest races you can do. From what actually, I think they are getting harder ones. I think people are just sadistic enough and crazy enough that they have harder races than Ragnar now. So I guess I can't say that anymore. But it's a pretty intense one. My marathon friends and half marathoner friends laughed at me, and they're like, that's your first race? Good luck. Anyway, so I did it, and I loved it. And the following year, I did it again. And that's where I experienced my first runner's high. I just turned 40. And I remember kind of dreading, because I knew that there weren't as many people on my first leg. And I was just like, I'm going to be bored. This is going to be awful. And when I started running, I remember just allowing myself to be present and looking around. And, well, for one thing, Utah is just breathtaking. You know, if you haven't been to Utah, don't even necessarily come out to see Shani or me or whatever, but come out to see how beautiful it is. The mountains and everything like that. And I was in an area in Utah I'd never been before. It was up kind of by Ogden area, back in that little, anyway, this beautiful valley. It was cloudy. It had just been raining. And all of a sudden, it was just like, it was me and the road and nature. And I sound kind of like a hippie, but it was so amazing. And I was determined to run the entire 3 legs that I had. So you run one leg, and then everybody else does theirs. You've got a team of 12 people. So then by the next time I ran, it was at night. And then my last leg was my hardest. And it was almost 7 miles. And I was tired, and it was amazing. Even just having that feeling of being able to finish it and accomplish it and be able to run every step of the way in such gorgeous scenery. Oh my gosh. If you get a chance to, like, wherever, if you can find beautiful scenery and run a race, I would suggest that's the way to get started. Even if you don't run the entire way, I'm hooked. I mean, from that point on, I even started watching the Ragnar videos for different locations of where I wanted to be, and I started developing my bucket list of what races I wanted to do. After that Ragnar, I ran my first half marathon, and I thought I would be in the ultimate shape. I wasn't, but I did it, and I've run 2 half marathons since, and I'm going to devote a little bit more time to other races, but I will tell you my first Wasatch Back race was the 10th anniversary. Here's my medal that I won, or earned. It is pretty cool. So yeah, this is my first medal that I got, and if you have running friends, you'll see that we all spend significant amounts of money to get cool medals like this. And like this. This was my favorite. I will do a whole video on Cape Cod Ragnar because it was one of my bucket lists and it was with taps. Need I say more? Not right now. Getting ready to run my 3rd half marathon here in about 3 months. It's Saints and Sinners in Vegas. I've run that one before. Little pitch for that one. I guess I kind of pitch a few things, but it's just things that I love. This is the Chase the Moon. It's a virtual run, and this one glows in the dark. And it happened while I was in Boston, so I did like the 6.786 miles and helped run around the moon. 1,000 people did that. Anyway, so running, in my opinion, for me, running's awesome. I'm not telling you have to learn how to love running, but I went from being a bona fide couch potato to being one of those people that gets like giddy and excited about those ugly shirts that you get and you're proud to wear, and those medals, which, you know, weigh like 50 pounds that you probably will knock someone out. Here's another one of my medals. The coolest one actually is the TAPS one, the TAPS virtual run. This was my 3rd Ragnar that I did, and it was not this past year, but the year before. And I donated some money and just had to run one race sometime between, it was May and the end of July. So my brother and I both ran on the same day. I ran Ragnar, he ran his first marathon. We were wearing TAP shirts, and it was the day before Father's Day. It was really incredible. My brother has just been starting to grieve recently and get to know our dad. And so that was a turning point for him, and it was really cool to be able to run at the same time as him in honor of our dad the day before Father's Day. So running for me is spiritual and physical and just is something that I love. And, you know, as I build my audience and as I talk to you guys, I definitely encourage you to find something that you love to do. I mean, there's so many different things. There are things that I'm still wanting to kind of try and get out there and do. Anyway, thank you so much for your watching. I'm really excited for this weekend. Ashley Burke and I are going to be doing a live stream with Shani. I believe we're doing a live stream. We're going to do a video for sure this coming Friday. And then A Reason to Stand again on Saturday. I'm really excited for this event. I don't think you can tell that, right? Anyway, okay, that's all for today. I'm just reminding you to let your fears inspire you to be brave and live. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you next time.